And then you've got the dry tables. So we've got tomatoes and avocados, which is our pretty much every day, the bananas, the apples.
Janice Hernandez is showing me around Fresh Garden Market, a small shop on Market Street just west of Interstate 805.
The watermelons, the grapefruits.
It's cheaper than my grocery store.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Hernandez and her husband have owned this place for about 5.5 years. When they took it over, it didn't have much in the way of fresh, healthy food.
A lot of the shelving was used for all the cooler products and stuff, the juices, the sodas.
Those bottled drinks are now joined by produce and a meat counter.
So we've turned it into from a convenience store all the way over to like pretty much a mini market.
Hernandez recently got an $8,000 grant from the city to help renovate the shop's facade. She says she's grateful and excited about how it's going to look. But as she was making plans with city officials, another need came up, a crosswalk at the intersection where her market sits. She takes me outside to show how unsafe it is for pedestrians.
Since we're right on the 805 freeway coming down and going up, everybody uses it pretty much like a speed track. So it's gotten really bad where they don't stop for a lot of the people. You've got to literally dart for your life.
A lot of people trying to cross the street are Hernandez's customers. Others are trying to get to the Mount Hope Community Garden next door. Diane Moss runs Project New Village, the nonprofit that started the garden.
This is a food insecure neighborhood. There are quite a few people that have WIC. That means there are babies involved. The quality of food will be raised for everyone, whether you're growing it, picking it here, or buying it in the store or at the eateries.
Moss is also advocating for the crosswalk. She says car traffic isn't just a barrier to crossing the street. It's a barrier to her whole vision for the neighborhood. She sees her garden, plus the mini market and nearby restaurants, as a slowly emerging good food district.
So in order for this good food district to work that we're proposing, you need to be able to go back and forth between the establishments, and most are on this side, but the sitting and the gathering area will be across the street.
The city's transportation department surveyed the intersection and agreed it needs a crosswalk with flashing beacons. But there's no money for it in this year's budget, so the crosswalk was placed on a list of unfunded needs.
Obviously, there's a lot of need. There's not enough money for everything.
Charles Modica works in the city's office of the independent budget analyst. The IBA has done several reports on San Diego's infrastructure deficit, last measured at $1.4 billion over the next 5 years. This one crosswalk, which would cost about $10,000, is a tiny sliver of that.
Crosswalks, city streets, fire stations, water pipelines, sewer infrastructure, parks, basically everything that's physical that the city does to provide some kind of physical access to citizens is what we're talking about.
Because the city has more needs than it can pay for, all it can do is shift money around from one priority to another. So if and when the city builds this crosswalk, it would essentially take money away from other needs.
In all likelihood, there would be another crosswalk that would have to wait another year.
A city spokeswoman said in an email that if they can't find money for the crosswalk in this year's budget, it will be funded in the next fiscal year. And she said pedestrian safety is one of the factors they use when prioritizing projects. But a city audit released last week found San Diego has failed to improve some of the most dangerous crosswalks in the city, while adding flashing lights and timers to other crosswalks that are relatively safe. The city says it agrees with the findings and is working on improvements. Hernandez, meanwhile, is not about to let the city off the hook.
We told them that it's something that's mandated. It's something that's really, really needed because the traffic needs to slow down a little bit in the area.
Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.